Okay.
So hello everyone. Today, Yana and Fiona Reid are having a nice, friendly conversation about life and law. Hello Fiona and welcome to my show. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, about your life, your hobbies.
Okay. I'm a solicitor. So I've been practicing since I did my A-levels quite a few years ago now. I won't confess to being how old I am, although it doesn't really matter too much.
No.
So what I basically decided in April this year that I wanted to take the leap of faith in myself and become a self-employed consultant solicitor. So I work from home. I think last year, obviously 2020, certainly taught me a lot of things, and what to appreciate in life, and obviously I think that's done that with everybody, to be quite honest with you. So I just decided, right, okay, let's take this leap of faith and go it alone. Although due to regulation, insurance and things like that, I do act as a consultant, under the umbrella of other firms, but I just bring the work in, and it's still me personally doing everything. So that's me. I practice in wills, trusts, powers of attorney and probate matters. Anything like that. I've been doing that for quite a number of years now, since 2010 roughly. Before that I did a bit of litigation and family work, but things have moved on quite a bit since then, so I've still got that sort of background knowledge, but my area of work is actually wills and trusts. Me, hobby wise, I've got two children. I've got a 7-year-old and a 13-year-old. I've got 2 dogs and a little kitten and a husband. So yeah, I've been married for
full house.
Yeah, absolutely. Been married like 22 years now. So it feels like a lifetime.
Well
Joking. I think that's it. Hobby wise, I like going for a walk in the morning. I think again, 2020, it's like, right, it's all about self-care for me.
Yeah.
So I like just going out for walks, being with the children, just that sort of thing really. I like crystals and always have been into spiritual side of things, and so that's it really in a nutshell. I feel like I've spoken lots then.
Oh no, this show is all about you. I had a look on your website, and the first word that came to me when I saw it was beautiful. Your website is beautiful. I like that green little thing at the homepage of your website. I wanted to ask you about something particular. I'm not sure if you're able to answer me, but are you familiar with the legality behind buying a land? I'm asking because a lot of people are looking to move to live off the grid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I have been doing a research this week on buying a plot of land and sort of become self-sufficient. But I feel like the government has done it in a way that it's pretty much impossible unless you have a limited amount of money. Am I correct to say that?
It depends what you're buying, obviously the price of land or property, it varies obviously across the country. Anything that when you purchase property nowadays, certainly since the 1970s, 1980s, is pretty much all registered property. It's under, it does have to be registered at the land registry because it's a transaction that's occurred since those dates. Like I say, it was roughly about 1970s to 1980s when it became compulsory to register property and land. So it does have to go through the formal conveyancing process with the land registry. It would be a normal conveyancing transaction as far as solicitors are concerned. So anyone doing that would have to go and speak to a solicitor and do the conveyancing in a formal manner. But once that property is in your sole name, your sole name, whether that's with a mortgage or without, whatever, potentially it could be, property and land can be held in trust. So, it might just be that you think, well, we create a declaration of trust and make sure that it's held, because you've got a difference between the legal owners and you've got beneficial owners. So, you know, I think the first thing to do, as with anything, is you've got to buy it, you know, in the first place. There's no, as far as I can see, there's no other way around buying the property. It's got to be done under the Law of Property Act, which is that it's all got to be in writing and done that official route. Like I say, there's a lot of people looking into trusts and owning the property and making sure that it's protected otherwise. But that's, you know, there's a lot of people looking into that at the moment.
All right, okay. I need to do a bit more digging then. I saw on your website that you are familiar, I suppose, as a solicitor with common law. I think over the last year and a half, we are realizing that we don't know our rights and we're not familiar with the common law. If people want to become more familiar with the common law and know their rights, where do you think they should start with educating themselves?
Okay, so I mean, as far as I'm, you know, as a solicitor and our training, for me, I found that there's been, you know, a little bit of the common law, but then you're not told everything about it. So when it comes to, say, trespass and dealing with bailiffs and debtors and things like that, you taught about those things, you know, and there's an element of experience in that when, you know, if you've got a client that comes to you about bailiffs knocking on your door, there's the common law side of things, and certainly tort and equity, that is all stems from the original common law, and obviously common law is developed in the Statutes Act, everything else that's gone along with it. However, like I say, as us as solicitors, you're not told or taught everything else. So I very much, and I'm still in the process myself of learning about equity and trusts, and although I've got a good background knowledge of it, there's still this extra amount of knowledge that I'm still learning about. I think as any individual now, you've got to be doing a lot of research yourself, because it's about your own sovereignty. It's about standing on your own 2 feet and not relying on everybody else to be helping you out. So it's really that you've got to learn and got to, you know, stand in your own, you know, on your own 2 feet and start looking at things as much as I have. So, you know, there's so many people out there on Facebook or Telegram and Twitter, and there's so many people out there that are doing this and are you know, going out and educating people. So you know, I've connected with a number of people, and I've done David Edelman's course, you know, so you know, so I'm in touch with David, and you know, we're looking at trust together a bit as well, and you know, we're all in that same boat really, and it's still a developing area, because like I say, there's so much that's been hidden from us, do you know what I mean? And we are all learning, and we've all got to you know, we'll get there with it, I'm sure. And I think there's some people are, with regard to, you know, I know there's natural law trusts, and that's certainly an area that I'm looking at as well.
Yeah, I agree. We need to, one thing that I have learned over the last year and a half is do my own research. Don't trust just because it says it's by law, it doesn't necessarily mean by law. I think,
exactly.
Yeah. I remember I was watching. He was a former Supreme Court judge. I can't remember his name now. And he was saying, just because it says, you know, it's by law, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing to do. You know, for example, if it's against the law to, I don't know, whistle in the park, I mean, it's stupid, isn't it? So why would you, you know, people need to say something about these things, to speak up, to voice their concerns. And
you know what, I think as well, there's things, sorry, my dogs keep pestering me. Like that, my arm's giving it with the head under. I mean, there's a lot to be said with the words and language, and you and like spelling, you know, and it's been something that's fascinated me for a very long time, you know, like the word mortgage and you know, and I know I didn't study Latin at school, but I, you know, my friends and that did. I decided to go down the IT and cooking route than study Latin at GCSE. But the words, you know, have always interested me, and a lot of, you know, foreign languages, when you look at the meaning in say Spanish or French, but then what it says here, you know, it's very interesting. And obviously there's the Black's Law Dictionary, which again, you know, I've only just come across Black's Law Dictionary, but again, it's just like certain words that you go, that's really strange, you know, why is that word mortgage used, and like mandatory, well, like I say, looking at all of those things, it's hugely interesting, really.
Yeah, because mandatory, you know, I have noticed that, started to realize the word game. So when it says must do that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to comply. Because I remember years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Theresa May, I think, she announced that our government is by consent. So you can always say no. You know, in the same as with mandatory, just because it's mandatory doesn't mean it's legally required. And also mandatory still requires our active consent.
Absolutely. And also you'll find, you know, I've found over the years when doing litigation and court cases, even judges say they cannot force anyone to do anything. So when it comes to say there's been a dispute over a property, you know, like under the like Trust of Land Appointment Trustees Act, where, say, for example, one person owns a property, but say they've got a cohabitee who's done a lot of work on the property, and then they claim some interest in it. It's the judge that will sign the paperwork. They can't force someone to hand something over. They can order them to do it, but they can't, you know, they can't physically make someone sign a piece of paper. Do you know what I mean? So it's the judge that has to do these things or order them to do it. But the judges themselves, they say they can't, you know, they can't phisically get people to comply with something. So
no one is holding out to your hand. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. People can always say, you know, I do not consent. I don't agree with that. Nothing bad is going to happen.
Exactly. And but I think, like you say, the use of the word mandatory, people, you know, we're all, I don't know, we're all programmed into believing certain things, and you know, I think everybody has been realizing they've got to question. I think I've always questioned, but I think over this last since 2020, people have started going, hang on a minute. Absolutely.
I have to ask though, what inspired you to study law?
Right. Okay. So long story. I'll try and keep it short. So when I was at junior school and then went to senior school, I was always into art. I loved art. I wanted to be a graphic designer. When I was at junior school, you know, my work was always in the corridor, and it was in the, you know, the local art exhibition, things like that. Went to senior school, had an art teacher who, don't know, one reason or another, kept giving me like 15 and 20% on everything, and I just, you know, there was others, and I was like, I'm rubbish at art. I suddenly went, I'm rubbish at art. So I went home to my mum, you know, and I burst out crying. I'm like, I'm rubbish at art. And it's purely because a teacher had always given me just really bad things. And it, you know, and I just took that to heart, you know, because I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? You know, so I'm clearly rubbish at art. I'm not going to be a graphic designer. What else am I going to do? So so my mum just said, obviously this was pre-recession in 1990 odd, whenever that was. And my mum just turned around and said, why don't you be a lawyer? There's money in it. And that's literally how I was like, okay, then, you know, right, I'll do that instead, because I didn't know what I was going to say. What am I going to do? I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I just went down that route and took myself off down there. And I didn't get the A-level results I wanted, so I ended up going straight into a job at 18 and doing it through like home study legal executive route, and then qualified as a solicitor, you know, and carried on and became a partner before I was 30. Became a partner, and that's how I got into it. So yeah, I don't regret not, you know, I do regret not doing art, but then I don't have any regrets. I don't believe in regrets. You know, we end up doing what we're doing for a reason.
Well, art is a question mark. So in my opinion, so you can create art anytime you want, you know, just because you're a solicitor doesn't mean that you can't do something else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I was actually going through your website earlier, and I've noticed that you like to do sort of a lot of things like gardening. You're interested in cryptocurrency. So am I a little bit. Yeah. How did you become interested in cryptocurrency? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Again, it's not the whole 2020. I mean, what's it done to us all? It was one of those, you know, where I started watching. I think it's like March 2020. I started thinking, I smell a rat. You know, I smell a rat in all this. I don't really watch the news. I haven't believed in politicians for a very long time. You know, I have never put my faith in them. And I just started watching YouTube. So I went down sort of through the whole rabbit tunnel and everything else. Watched all the YouTube videos and everything. And obviously, you know, I started picking up on, you know, certainly XRP was the thing that I was picking up on. So back in October 2020, I was like, right, okay, I'll just put 50 quid in some XRP, you know, it's like, I'll just put some in, that's it, let's have a go at this. I didn't tell my husband at that point because he was already thinking I was a bit crazy. So I thought, he's going to think I'm really crazy if I do this. And, you know, so, but literally it's really strange because within that week on the Saturday morning, he said, I've been looking at this thing called XRP. And I was like, hey, you know, how, what's this about then? So he then started telling me that he'd been watching TikTok. So he'd been watching, I'm on YouTube, he's on TikTok. And within the same week, he said, I want to invest some money in XRP. And I was like, wow, it's like how you know, our minds are on a completely different area. And then we've met in the middle. So then he invested some, and then I confessed that I put some in, and then we've both been on this whole crypto journey. He is absolutely madly into it, and we've just played around, and it was purely because we'd got nothing better to do. You know, we were sat at home doing nothing, and you know, when we were homeschooled or whatever, and we're just like, okay, well, I didn't get that. Oh gosh, my phone's got my. Yeah, I just got into crypto with my husband, really, just because we'd nothing better to do on a Saturday afternoon. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad by, you know, Robert Kiyosaki. You know, so I'd read that, and we're just like, right, okay, do you know what I mean? We've got nothing else to do with, you know, a little bit of money, and it was like 15 quid here and 20 quid there, and we'd have spent that in a pub or like at the shops, or, you know what I mean? So we just invested it, and we've just got a range of things really between the two of us, and you know, we've got, you know, a hard ledger and things like that, and so we've both just been down that whole thing, and now we're just sort of holding. So but yeah, it's been a really good learning curve. And obviously for me as a solicitor, I ask all my clients when I do a will what assets they've got. So you know, make sure that might be cash in the bank or a house, whatever, but it's hugely important to ask about digital assets. So as a solicitor, and for me to do my job correctly as well, if someone's got crypto, and you know, it's all about the passcodes and the storage, and if someone dies and, you know, this money's just evaporated really into thin air if no one else accesses it. So for me to do my job correctly as well, it's good that I know what these things are, so that I can then make sure I tell my clients what to do. And in future, you know, if people say, oh, what's this, you know, I'm not a financial advisor, you know, I can't, and all of that lot, but ultimately it helps me do my job as well. So
yeah.
So I think that, I don't know, does that give me a bit of a one step ahead of some other people
Oh,
that
absolutely.
aren't
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of people, don't get it wrong, these clients, you know, the majority of people go, no idea what's that. So it's minute the amount of people that have got cryptocurrency that I speak to.
Yeah, people are not familiar with it. Again, that comes to doing your own research. I actually last year started investing in gold and silver because I've been listening to Robert Kiyosaki, and he kind of inspired me to give it a go, because I believe that we can create our own fortune, but again, we need to do our own research.
That's funny, that book, you know, because I got given that book about 9 years ago.
Oh wow.
By someone I went for a coffee with. So this guy gave me the book and he said, read that, it's brilliant. And I just didn't read it. It ended up on a bookcase, it gathered dust, and then eventually it went to a car boot sale. I got rid of it. Then in just a month before 2020 all kicked off in COVID and that, again, I went to a network, and this lady called Jane handed out this book again, right, to everybody, and gave everybody a free copy. And I got it, and I thought, that's a sign, isn't it? I've been given this book twice. I need to read this book. And then because I'd got nothing else better to do, you know, last year I read the book. And you know, when you just think, right, fate's telling me something, I've got to read that book somehow.
Yeah.
I agree, I'm with you. I've done the gold and the silver route as well. So sorry, I thought that phone was off. So yeah, that's how I got into that as well. It's strange, isn't it?
Well, the universe is sending you signs, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And I believe in that, obviously.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I believe that too. You've mentioned that you've worked for a law firm before, and now you're self-employed. Which one? Because people always say, you know, working for someone else gives me more security, but people are always stressed out. Do you feel happier working for yourself or working in a law firm?
It depends but there's always so much more to me than this. So from qualifying as becoming a solicitor and becoming a partner, so I became a partner in the law firm. So I then became self-employed at that point in time. And then my partner retired, so then I was the director, the majority director, brought someone else in. So there were two of us. We went through like I say, it was our firm, and it was this historical firm that had lots and lots of history behind it, already got staff. So at one point we had, I think the biggest we got was about 16 staff. So like I say, that was my firm, you know, with my colleague, and we went through some really bad trading years. For about 3 or 4 years we had some really tough times. It was like the biggest roller coaster you could ever go on, you know. One day you were doing well, the next day it was like up and down and up and down, and the stress that I had at that point was unbelievable. You know, I was driving down the road crying a lot of the time, thinking how I can't do this anymore, you know, and there were times when I was like, I need to give this up. But you can't just do that with a law firm, because you've got regulation, you've got insurance, you can't just walk away, because, you know, it's a nightmare. It's not just like shutting a shop, do you know what I mean? So I mean, there were times when I'd be crying down the road and I'd walk through the front door and go, right, come on, smile on your face, you've got to cover this up, you know, because, you know, people don't want to see that you're struggling. So yeah, we went through majorly bad times, and it was up and down. And then eventually we got to a point in February 2018 where we said, we really, you know, we can't keep doing this. And we went to see a liquidator, and we put the firm into voluntary liquidation, and then like within the next month, I decided, right, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I don't care what people think about me. So, but yeah, I mean, I declared myself bankrupt because I was like, I can't do this anymore. And actually, I've got to draw a line in the sand. This is about letting go of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me and my family, you know, and okay, I mean, I'm not going to go into massive detail because obviously I'll be here forever talking to you. But anyway, I just thought I've got to start again and I've got to let go of all this. This is history. I likened it to like the Grand National. I jumped over the biggest, highest hurdle into the biggest ditch ever with everybody throwing rocks at me. But I knew that at the end of there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And what has kept me going all the way through the bad times was mindfulness. I was a big, strong believer in Eckhart Tolle, meditation, and I just always had a vision that this will not last forever. One day, I will not be 80, sat here struggling in this law firm forever, for the rest of my life. This is only a blip, a little moment in my time that this is going to happen. So I always had that focus, and I've been at the lowest I could possibly be. But I'm now over there. Do you know what I mean? So I went straight into a job, into employment for 3 years. So after 20 years of being self-employed and being the boss, I was then employed for 3 years. But it gave me that moment to breathe, to get my self-esteem back, because I'd lost everything, you know, and I'd lost my self-esteem, and I just literally had to pick myself back up again. So after that first year, so 2019, I then did Tony Robbins in London. So I did his UPW event, walking on hot coals, and so I did that, and that just was like the pick me up that boosted me again. And then, like I say, I was an employee for 3 years, but I was autonomous. I could come and go as I please and all that lot. But there's still that whole, there's always someone that's got an opinion. There's always someone who's going to judge you, or you know, or you know, it's like, although I was autonomous, I could be walking down the promenade one morning just because I could, and I'm going to get all my work done. But then you've always got someone who's, oh, where are they, or what they're doing, or do you know what I mean? So yeah. And then this year I just thought, do you know what? I bring the work in myself. I can do this for myself, actually. And so now it is just about me, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. You always have to put yourself first. People, for some reason, a lot of people think that self-care is selfish. No, self-care is a necessity. If you're not well, and your family is not going to be well, because you will pass on that negative energy to them. And also, when you feel negative, you manifest negative. And there's
this hot, constant drive to try and go, I want to be happy, I want to be happy, I want to be happy. And you're like, you're not going to be happy until you sort yourself out. You know, it's about going within and looking and going, okay, you know, I'm not going to get happiness by getting money in. You know, that's not how happiness works. But it's incredibly difficult, and it's incredibly hard to think you're not a failure, and you know, and to pick yourself back up again. It's incredibly difficult, but you know, it is, but it takes a lot of work on yourself, and that's where your self-care definitely has to come into it.
Yeah, the most difficult battle is the one with your inner self.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
We don't have much time left, I'm afraid. How can people find you, and do you have a message for whoever is watching this video?
Yeah. So I do have a website. It's a really simple one that I did, so yeah, please forgive me, it's not a professional one. It's FionaReid.co. There's no .uk on the end, just because of like domain names and all that lot. You can also find me on Facebook as Fiona Reid Solicitor, and I'm also on Twitter, and that is Solicitor BPL. I think. So yeah, you can find me on there, and yeah, that's all my details really. Message, it's just to be in the moment, you know, that's what's got me through, is just to be in the moment, to be present. don't think about the past too much. You know, that's experience, and that gets us where we are today. But if you think about the future too much, you know, anything could happen in the future. So it's just being mindful, breathe, go and have a good walk. You know, walks do me great. I don't know, getting out in nature. And so yeah, if you are in times of you know, worry, just take a moment, breathe, and just, you know, take notice of what's around you and just be mindful.
Yeah, absolutely. I will include all your links into the description box below the video if people want to get in touch with you.
Okay.
Thank you, Fiona, very much for coming on my show today, and thank you for everybody for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.